Hello, hello, hello. You can't hear me? You can't hear me?
Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear
Okay, well,
you.
I'm just going to keep on talking.
Here you go.
I can't hear myself except for me talking, but I can't hear myself through the computer. But you know what? Listen, we're going to keep it moving. Tonight is FEM Talk Tuesday. And
Yes.
as usual, we have a great show for you tonight. We have a very special guest waiting in the green room. So we can't wait to bring her
Woo-hoo-hoo.
on. But
Yeah.
before we get started, you know how we like to start with those hot topics. So tonight, we are talking about Miss Brittany Griner, who has been detained in Russia. So she has
Oh
been
my
detained.
God.
She has been playing in her off seasons in the Russian league. I dare not pronounce the name. I'm going to try though. Let's see. So the Russian team is called the UMMC Ekaterinburg. All right. And I'm sorry if I did not pronounce that right. Charge it to my head and not my heart, you guys. But she has been
That's
playing
right.
in that league and was detained because they said that she had vapes that contained cannabis in her bags when she was trying to leave Russia. So now she is in the Russian jail, and we are waiting for her to be released from there. And no
Hmm.
progress made so far. But what I will say is they have also been mentioning in the articles that there are some strict laws in Russia in regards to the LGBT community that may be impacting her stay as well. So, who wants to comment on this?
One of the things that I think that it does highlight, and mind you, the whole concept of the quote unquote um, what they found in her package was probably something they had found in her package, and was probably something she's had for a long time.
or
Um,
several times.
and several times, and probably never got caught and wasn't thinking nothing of it. But because of the war that is going on because of Putin, he's going to make sure he makes his point clear. And this was just somebody of that was recognizable enough to really allow us to be put in a place where we now need to go back and negotiate with him or whatever it is. So
Absolutely.
Hmm.
unfortunately, she got caught at the wrong place at the wrong time, and now I'm sure behind the scenes, which we never see, there's a lot going on.
Hmm.
Sure, the WNBA, the NBA, I'm sure they're quite up on the situation, and I'm sure those in government are too. But it is sad because they're using this against her, and Putin has made it really clear that he's coming against anybody who is in any way, shape, or form not following the dictates of the country, who
Hmm.
looks to have what is it called, freedoms. And to your point, Tracy, they do not believe in freedom of choice, freedom of
Hmm.
living your own life the way you want to live it. They don't believe in freedom of sexual orientation. They don't believe in that. So using this against her is all it lined up, unfortunately, you know, what they call it, the perfect storm. So it's
Right.
sad because now her family is, it's scary because you don't know where she is
Right.
and how they're treating her.
Right. And everything else is so reckless. What I hate to put it in such a minimalist term, but she's just one person.
Right,
If you'll kill
right,
thousands without a blink of an eye,
right.
you just pray that she doesn't do anything, or to they don't do anything uh, to this girl. Like you
I
said, she
mean,
was
her
just part of the
notoriety,
whole time.
yeah, and her notoriety, I think, would help her at least stay safe.
Mm-hmm.
But it is sad. And then, the other piece that, which is another discussion for maybe another day, is even the reason why she's there. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason why so many and this is International Women's Day, and
Yeah.
the reason why she's there is because they do not women basketball players do not make enough money in comparison to their male counterparts to
Yeah.
stay in the United States
Yeah.
and have a life. She gets
Right.
over $1 million being there, and so do many of these players.
Yeah.
The league is looking into things. They, started a little, almost like a D league this year, and hopefully that grows so that some of these players don't have to go overseas. But that's how they make their
Mhm.
money. They are
Yeah.
not making even close to that amount in the WNBA, and she's one of the premier players. And her and many other players are forced to go international to make the money to even live a decent life.
Yeah.
Many of them
That's
work a
right.
9 to 5 once the season is over, and it's sad.
Yeah.
Sad.
It is.
It is sad, but I want to challenge something just a little bit because we know the country of Russia, right? And the stringent
Hmm.
laws that they have and how different it is from the United States. Not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying
Hmm.
when you go to a place like that, you have to be mindful of what you're doing, particularly when it comes to things like drugs or things that they consider narcotics. You have to be mindful
Hmm.
of that and not take those things in and out of a country where their laws are not the same as ours. Their jails, I'm sure, are not the same as ours, and you have to consider that. And I wonder what's written in the contracts that they
Hmm.
sign to
Hmm.
play in other countries. So it
Absolutely.
just begs to question her judgment in this case. Not saying that it's right, but I'm just saying her
Right.
judgment. And I'm just talking about the narcotics because her lifestyle
Right.
should have nothing to do
To
with
do
her
with
being
that.
That's right.
Right.
detained
An
in
actual
Russia.
law breaking
Right, a law
something.
breaking. Right,
And
exactly.
she's not, how long has she been doing this? About 7 years.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
I'm,
yeah,
and like, to Tracy's point, it could have been, I've been doing this forever. But it doesn't mean just because you got away with it for six
right,
and a half years that last few months.
right,
And with all that is going on in the two worlds
Yeah.
right now,
right.
your six
I'm
years of
Hypersensitive.
getting
It's
away with it
I'm
hypersensitive.
doesn't
convinced she
really.
was targeted. These players, they go
Absolutely.
overseas and
Hmm.
they are bona fide stars. They are looked
Hmm.
up to. The government treats
That's
them
right.
like stars and with a silver spoon, and all they get all the
That's right.
luxuries and all of the amenities that you can think of.
Mhm.
I
Hmm.
totally believe she was targeted.
Hmm.
And
Even
who's to
though
say
she
she
probably
wasn't
was
given a
right.
pass before?
I'm
We
sure
wouldn't
she
know.
was. I'm
Right.
sure her and many other players.
Again, even if that was the case, we knew towards the end of January where this thing was going. She's been
Everything
detained
changes.
slash arrested since February.
Absolutely.
So honestly, when you see the writing on the wall, you should have just got the heck out of this. Sis. You should have just
Hmm.
got out. But we hope
Hmm.
you make it back safely after all this, though.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think
Absolutely.
she is caught in the middle of a political war, literally,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, those amenities or those luxuries or those as you say, Shima, passes she was given in the past,
Yep.
they did not equate now, and
Yeah.
it's unfortunate. I feel my prayers are to her, and to her family that she comes back safely
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
she's not used is not this does not prolong those go too long, and then she's brought back home as soon as possible.
That's
Absolutely.
right. I'm with
So
you.
this is something that we can follow and keep people updated on. But we want to get into the topic of tonight because it is International Women's Day and it's Women's History Month. So we
Yeah.
want to honor the beautiful guest that we have backstage. This woman is making moves and doing some incredible things in her industry. So, Melissa, please introduce our guest.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, I'm so excited. The guest and I, we do go back a few years, and she is one of my good friends and just a beautiful, beautiful woman inside and out. And then when she puts her stuff on, man, you haven't fashion like that. Ms. Hope Wade, she is born and raised in Kingston, Jamaica. And she came over to the New York City and she graduated from New York City Technical College and Cooper Union College. If
Nice.
you know about Cooper Union down on 14th Street, y'all know what I'm talking about. She in 2021, she was the producer and originator of the highly successful Rockland Fashion Week. She started that
Mm,
her own up there. I mean, just talking about women making history. She also
Yeah.
received the first ever Woman of Distinction Award from the State Assembly of New York for outstanding leadership in Rockland County, New York. In
yes.
May 2018, her silk red gown worn by Academy Award and Grammy Award singer Darlene Love was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and is can be seen. You can see it right there on the screen. If you go to Canton, Ohio, into Cleveland, Ohio, where the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is, you'll see the Hope Wade design there.
Yes.
She is also she's been invited to collaborate with Fashion One TV in Nigeria and to showcase
Ooh.
her designs at the Caribbean Fashion Week. She
All
has
right.
also done somewhere. I'm telling you, she's amazing. In December 2018, her design was worn by Miss Jamaica for the pageant, and she was also in 2016. She was also she competed and was one of the top three finalists for a very popular show known as Project Runway. She was critiqued by Tim Gunn himself, and then she also hosted. Her designs were also worn and hosted by the ABC show Southern Chefs. So she was very much. Her designs have gone in so many different places. Also participated in London Fashion Week, and she was selected and came in third for the Emerging Trends Fashion Challenge. Also at that event. So I'm telling you, Hope
Okay.
Wade is one of the up and coming fashion designers, women making history in our lands today. So I'm so excited that she is with us this evening.
All
Yay! Thank you,
right.
ladies, for having me.
Hey,
The
ho.
phenomenal Hope Wade.
Oh, I'm like,
Wow.
who's she talking about? Thank you very much. And listen, happy International Women's Day. We celebrate
Yes,
Yeah.
women.
thank you.
Thank
Yes.
you. Same to you.
Thank you.
All
We are
All
right.
just
right.
excited to have you here. And one of the things that I love is fashion. My shows are either cooking shows, design shows, or fashion shows with fashion. So I'm one of those watchers of Project Runway and all those kind of things. But tell us, Hope, how did you get into fashion design? I know you said you were a Jamaican girl. I'm also Jamaican. And I know that's not usually what our parents let us do, Hope.
Exactly. Hello. Who
So
goes home and says, I
our
want to be
parents.
a fashion designer?
I
Dumb.
know. Tell us how that happened because that's not usually what they want for us.
No, absolutely not. You have no ambition. That don't make any money. That's what they sell you. But actually, how I became a fashion designer was after graduating from Cooper Union College, I was recruited specifically for this job, and I was there for a year and a half, and then I went to do a trade show in Chicago, and was very successful. And what happened was, when I came back, the president of the company asked my boss to train me in this particular division. And after about 3, 4 months, my boss called me in his office, and I thought I was doing very, very well. And he said to me, the car that I drive. I'm like, okay. He says, that company gave that to me, and the house I live in, the company bought that for me. And I'm like, okay. And then he's like, and the vacations I go on, yeah, the company got that for me. And I know they're trying to let me groom you for my job, so you're fired. I was like, huh? So my boss fired me, and it wasn't like
Wow.
hashtag me too, where he could speak to somebody. So I lost
Oh,
my job,
no.
and the thing was, I just bought a new car, and I was thinking like, okay, how am I gonna pay for this car? So anyway, fast forward, I was on unemployment, and the church I attended at the time, Redeeming Love Christian Center, the Pastor Sarah Otterbach, announced that for New Year's Eve we had a special guest singer, and she wanted everyone to dress formally. And I was thinking, wow, New Year's Eve is one thing, but the next day, the first of the month. So I was trying to figure out how I could hide my car, that my landlord, because he lived above me, that he didn't see the car. And then maybe I could, wait a couple of days, but I couldn't figure it out. So in desperation, I had to use my unemployment check to pay my rent. So I was trying to figure out how could I get a gown, a dress. So I made the dress because I was a foreign student when I came here. And my mother used to come up every year for like 3 months, and she used to sew because she, bought a machine. But I didn't know how to sew. I wasn't interested. And so a friend of mine, who is now a professor at Syracuse, he went to Cooper with me. So he came by to tell me he was going to go to Syracuse to do his master's. And I'm like, James, can I make something on you? He was like, Hope, do you know my man? I said, I know that, but I'm desperate. I need you to be quick. Just let me just use you as a mannequin. So he acquiesced, and I made this outfit. And so when I wore it, my girlfriends were like, "Oh, I thought you said you weren't gonna buy something." I said, "I made this." They didn't believe me. So after the service ended, I had to go in the bathroom, turn the dress inside out. They were like, "Yeah, you made that." And then they started ordering dresses from me. And literally, that's how my business started. The naysayers were the ones who started ordering. You
The
know,
naysayers.
yes,
I remember that event, and I remember. I don't remember the gown specific, but I remember the event, and that's crazy to think
yeah,
that and it's one of those. I talked about it last week. Never discount the no's in your life, because
Mhm.
you never know what door is being opened up because that door was closed. That
yeah,
no opened up this whole thing, and it's just amazing to me that that's how it started. But
Mhm.
Yeah.
fashion is not an easy thing to kind of break into. So now you're in fashion. I'm sure you talked about you needing to make money. How did you kind of like really get into the point where it was now something that was producing money for you? Like what happened? Like what contacts did you make?
okay, fine. So it took years to get to where I am now. But what happened was, so I was sewing, and then once, okay, so in the early stages, I was now doing, because now remember, I'm a self-taught designer, self-taught seamstress. So it took me a very long time to produce anything, like 2 to 3 weeks
Mhm.
to produce a dress, like literally 2 to 3 weeks, right? And so I was doing what's called in-home shows. So I'd have a couple of my friends, like 3, 4 friends, and I'd say, I'd give an invitation to one friend. I said, could you invite like 3 or 4 persons, and I'd come and do an
Mm.
in-home show for you.
Mhm.
So, at the time, people were really ordering that much. So they probably ordered like 1 or 2 pieces. And after 3 weeks, I'd give it to them. So this very well-renowned Jamaican artist, reggae artist. Now, my brother was an international reggae artist at the time. So, people knew who he was, and, by association, they knew who I was. His wife invited me to her house to do this show. And she just said a few of her friends would be there. And I'm thinking, okay, great. So when it was I had 4 models, and I went, and immediately I started praying, dear God, please don't let anybody order. The woman had over 30 women in her house. And I was thinking, please God, I hope nobody orders anything. Well, it turned out that it was a very successful show in terms of paper, and just about everybody wanted something. And
Mm.
there were 5 women who were going on a cruise in 2 weeks. And now the pieces that I'd shown, they were like, no, everybody saw that already. We want you to design something different. So each woman ordered 3 pieces. Now
Wow.
Oh my
remember I told you I'm a self-taught designer. I didn't know how to do about a pattern. It had to be everything was customized. And I literally was working literally like 18 to 20 hours a day. I remember one time I looked in the mirror, it took me a few seconds to realize that was me. So anyway, I was able to get everything finished except in one piece. Now, I'm
God.
exhausted, I'm tense. And the lady was like, I'm going to tell everybody you didn't finish my dress. And it impacted me in such a way. I mean, years later, I realized what it was. I was just vulnerable.
Mhm.
But I did not sew anything. You couldn't get me to sew a handkerchief after that for 2 years. It just, I just felt
Wow.
totally displaced because, in this business, it's word of mouth. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Your reputation is everything. And I mean, she just basically told me off. But like I said, I was mentally and physically exhausted.
Mhm.
And, what she said meant everything to me,
Mhm.
and she wasn't even the person who was a hostess, you know what I mean, of the event.
Wow.
But,
Mhm.
yeah. So it took me a couple of years to get to where I started making money. But how
Mhm.
I started making money was, I mean, like I do prom dresses and stuff like that. But in terms of making money consistently, where I didn't have to look for a 9 to 5, um, my husband, he does this event every year called Gospel Music in the Park. And after about like 8 years, one of my friends suggested, why don't you do a fashion show for the event? I'm like, it's a gospel event. Who does a fashion show for gospel? And she was like, you should think about doing the show.
That's
So I
right.
did a show, and it just so happened that there's this one person. He was a producer, and he was a promoter. So he came to me after backstage. He said, "Look, I loved your stuff. I'm promoting a big show for the American Cancer Society, and I would love to have you do a fashion show." And I'm thinking,
Wow.
no, that sounds like a big event. Anyway, so I said, okay, fine, I'll do it. What I didn't realize was the amount of press that was there. I mean, I was just thinking American Cancer. This sounds big, but maybe it's not that big. No, it was a very, very big event. And, so I was on video, live TV, the whole 9 yards. And it opened the door for me where people started calling me, asking me to do this and that. And so it became prosperous as the event would be. But it was still, a lot of hard work to produce all those clothing. But that was where I could say, okay, fine, something could happen here.
Wow. Wow. That's
Wow.
amazing. That's
I
amazing.
have a one quick question, and then we're going to go to a segment. But I just had to ask. Well, one comment first. I wanted to say, don't you know that all the churches, their fundraisers are fashion
That's right.
shows along
They
with
start with fashion shows,
so smart.
I didn't know that.
and everybody walks. The children, the grandma,
Oh my gosh.
everybody, the
Yeah.
pastor and his wife, everybody.
Everybody. Okay.
But I wanted to go back and ask you a question about that 2-year stint and what got you out of that 2-year stint to start making clothes again.
Well, okay, fine. So I think, like I said, at that time, because I was insecure. Now, if you know me, you could never tell. But I was very insecure because I realized that whereas as a graphic designer, the photographer, a graduate from school, that was my profession. I could do that. But this is something totally new. In even terms of a line, I didn't know what a line was, for a fashion show. So I needed the approval of people. And so when I wouldn't do anything and my friends were asking me, like, aren't you gonna make this or that? I'm like, no way, because I just felt rejected, but I didn't want to say I felt rejected. Like, I'm not, I don't think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But what got me back was my brother. He's the one who was the international reggae artist. He's now a pastor. One day he called me and we were talking, and he said to me, do you know that when God gives you a purpose, the only way he sees you is through the lens of that purpose? And I'm like, okay. He was like, you need to start sewing again. I'm like, no, I don't need to start. I need to get a real job. But he was like, no, the thing for you is that if you're called to be a person who is an evangelist to win souls for Christ, and you are the greatest business person, you make all this money even for the church, God only sees you as the evangelist he called you as. Or, you know what I'm saying? In other words, you have to walk in your purpose.
Yeah.
And so I realized, okay, fine. I knew that this was not a gift I had before. I never aspired to be a fashion designer. I didn't go to school for fashion design. And I knew this was something that God's hand was on. And so that's what propelled me back to start working again as a designer.
Yeah,
Wow.
love that. Absolutely love that.
Yes.
So we're going to come back and get back into this conversation because it's getting good. And there's going to be more from Hope Wade, but we're going to have a quick segment from Shima She Talks tonight.
Yay. everybody. It's She Talks. And today we are going to do a quick segment about, you know how I do. I talk about things that are happening in my life, things that I'm doing, all lifestyle stuff. And when I thought about tonight, I thought about what I am working on. One of the things that I'm constantly praying about and worried about, I shouldn't say worried, but that is exactly what it is maintaining some passive income so that I could do the things that I love, which is this, and my, of course, full-time job. And in that, I was just checking out some bank accounts and some, just seeing what I needed to do, what was out there that I could put my hands on. And I was checking my credit score. And I was super duper excited because it is above the 800 mark. Ding, 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 ding. And you're talking to a girl who barely used to be at a 400. I have had my fun with the credit cards, and I don't find them fun once they no longer work. But what I want to talk to you about today very quickly was how to boost your credit score. Not in all of the main traditional ways, you should know that, but with some, little sneaky tricks that I use, that I learned, and that has worked for me. One of the things that you want to maintain, that you want to know about your credit score, is how the credit score how the companies break down the importance of the score. So let's start with 35% is your payment history. So you should be paying on time every month. 30% is the amount you owe. And what that basically means is keep your entire credit limit less than 30% of at 30% limit. If you have $10,000 on one card, and that's all the only card you have, or you have $1,000 on 5 cards, regardless of how many, you need to be under 30%. Now, I'll be real honest with you. You should be under 10%, but you're talking to a girl who did not take her credit seriously. So I know how hard it is to not use them. Some people are good at it. Some people are not. You need to know your strengths, but keep it under 30% and it'll help you maintain a decent score. Now, the other small ones, I got to put my glasses on because, these eyes sometimes don't want to work. 15% is the length of credit time that you've had, or length of time you had credit. So keep your cards open long if you can. That means keeping your eye on their usage or the non-usage. And, sometimes when you don't use a card, they will close it for you. I've had that done several times. So one of the sneaky tips that I want to give you is to, on a card that you're not using, put a very small charge on it. Like if you pay $10 for Apple Music, or if you work out at a gym and your gym membership is $20, put that on an auto pay on that card and make sure that your auto pay, the card on the auto pay is paid monthly. So they charge you auto pay and you pay it on auto pay. So you don't have to think about or remember to go back and pay it. That will jump your credit score a few points a month. I promise you. You're talking to somebody who just did it. My credit score jumped 100 points over the last year because I started doing these few little tips. The remaining portion of the credit mix is really what you have as credit and what you have as new credit. It's okay. Some people will tell you don't get new credit. I'm not a person who wants new credit. I turn down a lot of stores, but sometimes you need it to boost the amount of credit you have if you're already in good standing, because then that'll decrease your ratio. If you can get your credit card companies to increase your $10,000 limit to 15 or 20, then that decreases how much you actually owe. Well, not on that one credit card, but how much you actually owe collectively. So that is it's still what you still owe. Like, say, if you have a balance of 2,500, you still owe 2,500. You just don't have a ratio that is so large that's outside of that 30% that we want to stay under. And I don't want to go too long or be too long-winded, but I definitely want to give you this super duper sneaky trick. Pay it. I told you to pay your credit cards on time. If it's due on the 15th, jump forward 14 days. So if you normally pay $500 on your credit card, on the 1st, which is 14 days before the 15th, pay them $250. Then on the 15th or even the 14th, to cover yourself, pay them the other $250. In the credit reporting agency's mind, you've paid twice, even though you still paid that same $500. And when I tell you that boosts your credit score up points per month, slowly, like I said, you can increase your credit score by 100 points in a year. I'll always have tips like this. So I'll be trying to throw some more of these out to you later. I hope that helps you today. It made me feel great. If I can have this credit score, you guys can have this credit score too. Talk to you soon.
And we are back. Thank you, Shima, for those great credit tips. So, anybody, if you have any questions on any more credit tips, put them in the comments here on Fem Talk, and she will get back to you to let you know how you can use those quick tips to build your credit. Because listen, over 800, that's where it is, and credit is king these days. So make sure that you.
I mean, she's sitting on a mountain.
Yes. So if you are just joining us tonight, or if you were here waiting patiently to get back into our topic with this wonderful guest that we have, Mrs. Hope Wade here, we are talking fashion, and we're just talking about how she got into fashion. And we left off with Hope telling us about how she was about to deny her purpose until her brother told her to walk in it. So Hope, tell us a little bit more about then that transition period where you started now walking back into your purpose and all of the things that started to open up for you.
Okay, so after I started walking back in my purpose, I got married shortly after that. And so I realized, okay, fine. Even though I realized I was making a profitable business, but we just bought a home, and that works. We just bought a home and everything. And we had plans about, how long we'd wait before we had a child. And of course, we're newlyweds, you want to travel and all that stuff. But as I started getting really serious about the business, I realized that I needed someone to teach me how to sew properly. And so one of my friends who is a designer, who I met her because I'd actually advertised an ad to get someone to help me, because we have these very big shows, there's a lot of work. And so she went on to finish her formal degree at FIT, and then she started teaching me, tweaking, showing me what I need to do. She was like, why do you always have to make a pattern from scratch? Do you know that these pattern companies, they're $1 million company. All you have to do is just buy something that looks similar, and then you conform it to what you want. And that was a very big hint for me, because a lot of times now, when you're sewing for women,
Mm-hmm.
um, you can look at three women and the measurement is the same, but their body shape is different.
That's
You know what
right.
I'm
Mm.
saying? And so that made a big difference for me. And then another pointer was, she said to me, when you have a mannequin, there are two kinds of mannequins. One is a petite, which means when you think petite, you think it's a small. It's just that they, from the shoulder to the waist, it's shorter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the
Mm-hmm.
average, just to give a number out, the average measurement for a woman from her, say from her neck to her waist, is 18 inches, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a bigger girl, it could be 20 inches. And so if it's a petite person, it's 16 inches. And
Uh-huh.
I didn't realize at the time that the mannequin that I was using was a petite mannequin. And so
Mhm.
when we measured, I was like, oh my gosh, that's the reason why it was taking so much time. Because, when I fit a client and they were like, well, that little short here. And then I realized after, but so then she started teaching me, the tricks of the trade, and it made a big difference for me. Um, then remember, when you sew for a client, the expectation is this high. They don't know what it takes for you to get the job done. They just seen your work, and as far as they're
That's right.
concerned, you can do it. Like I one time I remember a client said to me, I made a gown for her, and she goes, "Oh, you know what? I want a matching purse." I'm thinking, and I was like, "Oh, okay. You know what? I'll just go to the store and see." If it says, "No, no, no. I want the same fabric." I'm like, and I realized after that, that's how people see me. I can do anything. You know,
Uh-huh.
Mm.
I mean, who sews us? I'm thinking, who sews a purse? Like the first time I sewed in leather was for a star, and I was like, I didn't tell this woman I can sew, because leather really is a different animal completely. You know what I mean?
That's right.
But you can't tell your clients no, because, well, for two reasons: one, you don't want to lose them, but the second time, they just believe, as far as they're concerned, you can do anything. So
Mm.
hey, you do whatever it takes. You sweat it out. You pray. You Google. You call a friend. Do you know how to use this? What do I need to do? You do what I got to do. But
Yeah.
it took me a while to get to where it was a full time thing. And I put it this way. I remember I used to sew with a small machine on my dining table, and then it moved to a bigger table. And then one time, my husband, for Christmas, he bought me a very expensive machine. I'm thinking, like, why would he spend so much money on a machine? And he goes, I really think that you need to start expanding. And from there to a much more expensive machine. And really, machine, the more expensive a machine is, the more gadgets. You know what I mean? But um, now you have a studio. You build a
Yes.
studio, and then you have a store, and then you expand to rock and fashion week, stuff like that. You realize that, okay, fine, I am doing
Mm-hmm.
it. It's still hard work,
Wow.
but it's still doing it. Yeah.
But that's
You know what
amazing.
stands out to me is with all that I know I could do this. I like to do it. You enjoy doing it. But the amount of support and push that you had, that just, they saw it. Even, that's usually how it is sometimes when you're a little hesitant with your gift.
Mhm.
They saw it and
Oh
they
yeah,
were
it's
nurturing
very
it.
important.
They, yeah.
No man is an island, and who
Mhm.
is it that always support you? It's usually family and friends.
Yes.
Of course, a stranger on the street will see your work after a while, but you need a team. You
That's
need
right.
people who see you beyond what you're seeing immediately.
Absolutely.
I'll give an example. So when I did okay, Project Runway, I critiqued with Tim Gunn. So I was my assistant was at the house, and we are trying to now a lot of times when you have these competitions and you put in all it's like about literally 100 questions, literally 100 questions to answer, and you have a very limited time. So anyway, so we are putting in all the information for a Project Runway, and then all of a sudden the system went down. I'm like, oh my god, I literally cannot believe it ended. So she called me in the morning around 5 o'clock, and she's like, you know what? I remember when I was in design school that they did a program, and in the program, now of course I'm not a computer literate, but behind the program there's something that you can do to get in. So she did it, and we got in, and we had exactly, I think, 10 minutes to download everything.
Mm.
So in a couple of days they called and said I was in the top three finalists, and I'm like, what? So of course you had to do the interview, the whole 9 yards. And so I was so sure I was gonna win, and I didn't. So I was like so down on myself. I'm like, what? I missed all that money. I could do ABC with it. My husband came home the night and he said to me, "What's the matter?" I go, "Nothing." So we have an agreement before we got married that if we ask a question, it has to be answered. Like, and because communication is very important.
Right.
So I said, "Well, okay, fine. I didn't win." And he just turned to me and he said, "It wasn't your time." And I go, "What?"
Mhm.
He said, "It just wasn't your time." And let me tell you, I was really upset. But after that, I was like, yeah, okay, maybe this wasn't my time. And so sometimes you need somebody who can just speak a word.
Yeah.
It may
That's
not be the
right.
word you want to hear, but the word that I needed
Right.
at the time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
That's
But
right.
yeah, you do need a village. I mean, like one of the things for rock and fashion week that's very important to me. And my next goal is to build a factory so that designers have a place that they can actually have their work made. Because a lot of times, especially with black designers, they're not funded, and
Mhm.
they're not funded, and they don't have the tools. And for example, if you see their work on a runway, and not all, but I'd say a higher percentage, you see the work on a runway and it looks beautiful, but if you stop and you look at the garment, it's not properly finished, and they lose
Mhm.
a lot of money because someone will come back saying, "I really like that dress from this designer. I'd like to purchase it on the spot," and they
Right.
can't, because when you bring the dress out, as you look at it, oh, this looks so good on stage, but what happened here? So one of my goals is eventually to have a factory so that designers can have their work properly made, because that's a very
Mhm.
important thing. It's one thing when and if most persons have a story, that's what makes the world go around.
Okay.
But when you have a talent and you don't have the tools and the resources, it's a very
Right.
frustrating thing,
Right,
because you can't
right.
sleep at night because that thing is talking to you, telling you,
Yes.
why don't you do this? Oh, you see that person that you thought wasn't that talented, that person up, you know what I mean? But you do need encouragement. You do need a village. You do need people to speak into your life, and of course, the hard work has to be implemented. You
That's
must
right.
do the work.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like a lot of times people call me and say, "Well, how did you get on this show, or how did you do this, or your accomplishments?" And I say, it's hard work. I do believe that hard labor bears a lovely face. Yes, there's the favor of God. Yes, there's times when big doors open. But if I wasn't doing the work before, when the door
That's
opened, I wouldn't be able to walk through it.
that's
Yeah.
right.
That's
That's
Mm,
right.
right.
say that.
Right.
Right. I love it. And as y'all can hear, this is an ordained evangelist. So y'all hear the word of God just coming through on a lot of things she's saying, and I think it's so important that people understand about when you talk about the gift and knowing your gift, and then the desire to push forth. So many people out there, and I know some of y'all are listening tonight. This is not all the stuff we go to school for. This
That's
is the
right.
stuff that you just know you have a gift for. And
Mhm.
so many of us sit on that gift because we don't see how we're going to raise a family on it. We don't see how we're going to buy a house on it. We don't see how we're going to pay our bills with it. But I love that you're giving that word tonight. Like, look, what is your gift?
Mhm.
Because
Mm.
you have to move forth in that and then work it, as Dr. D tells us all the time, then do the doggone thing,
That's
because
right.
it takes the time that you just got to get up and do that. But Hope, tell me about, share with us a little bit about, we're hearing all of these things that you're doing, but tell us the struggles that you face. There's no, being a black woman in fashion. You talked about fitting one of the things you was talking about the how you fit the women and the size. Now, tell me if I'm wrong. A lot of us darker skinned women, we're not size one.
Uh-oh.
So
No, you know
We
what?
don't fit the
My average
profile.
size client is a size 12 to 14.
Say that again. Say that loud. Say that one more time.
No, my average size client is size 10, size 12 to 14.
I
Okay.
love it.
On the runway, if I'm doing a really big, like an international show, that's a lot of money, but they usually use size 4 to 6. I wouldn't even say size 8. 4 to 6 is the size that they use, and to be 5'9" or taller. But the real woman that you're walking past every day, she's a size 12 to 14, and
Mhm.
so you have to compensate because a black woman's body is different from a white woman's body. Most white women,
Yeah.
again, measurement from here to the waist in the front to the back is the
Yeah.
same.
Mm-hmm.
With a Asian, it's the same. With a black woman, she got the butt. Okay, she got the butt, and therefore her measurement is shorter in the back. And it's so funny. I was doing this wedding. I think with about 10 girls were in this as the bridesmaids, and they all had a good old butt. And let me tell you, I usually start with a muslin, which is just a regular cotton fabric. It's just easier
Mm-hmm.
for me. And then you fit it on the client, and that becomes the pattern after you. And after you make adjustments, you call it true in the pattern. But one of the things I realized was these girls, like, if you just went to 15 or 16 inches on the back, you're good to go.
Right.
So it's a trial and error, and
Mhm.
then you have the hips. But I want to tell you something about big girls. Most big girls in their minds, they're a size 8. They can basically fit into anything you put on them. It's amazing, amazing. But the average
We don't
I
woman,
want to get
agree.
sick. In our
I
mind,
agree.
the eight, right?
You know I put it on.
there you go. I'm telling you, I'm telling you. So, but in terms of the fit of a woman, you have to understand that when a woman comes to have her dress designed, say for a gala or something like that, she's spending some serious money.
Mhm.
And
Mm,
therefore, you have to make her feel as important as her vision is. So you're
Mhm.
not
Yes.
just
mm.
consulting with
Yeah.
her to say, okay, like she walk into a Macy's or a Bloomingdale's and she see the dress hanging, right?
Mhm.
When you
Right.
do that sketch for her and you're consulting with her, what are your best features? Is it your legs? Do you want to show your bosom, your arms? Most women don't like to show their arms. So
Mhm.
you have to design, okay, fine. If do you have a nice bone structure here? It doesn't matter what size. Some women have great bone structure and they're heavy set. So when you're designing, remember, you're not just meeting a need, you're meeting a desire. And
Mhm.
it is
Mm.
your job to work with that woman. What I tell my clients, and my only guarantee that you'll be seen when you walk in the room, there will be, yeah, somebody has. I guarantee you that you will be seen, and that's really how I make most of my money because like a client may say, "Oh my gosh, I had so many people come over to me, and I've been to other things before, but maybe one or two
Yeah.
persons, but at least 8 people ask me or whatever." So, but you have to be there with that client. You
Mhm.
have to be the client. That's the only way you can be successful. You
Mhm.
have to transform not just the client but yourself
That's
because
right.
you are a sponge. You're taking in what that person wants, and then you're going to give it back to the client in the way that they see it. Because
Mhm.
you have people come and they'll say, like, it's a very important thing for me to be at this function, or I'm being awarded, or whatever the story. And I want, I'm spending a lot of money. You're not spending $100 or $400. What I mean? You're spending some good money. And so you want to be able to say, well, this, you know what? You did the darn gone thing, as they would say,
Right.
I love it, and I have been blessed with a couple of Haute Wade unique
Thank you.
designs, and you're right. I remember wearing I wore all of them, and the reaction that you get because it's for you, and this dress was made for you, and it's what you saw yourself, and I love that feeling when I had it on. It was like, wow, that is beautiful.
Oh,
Where
Mhm.
did
yeah.
you get that at? And I think I love that you said that you embody that person and not
You
just
have to.
that
You
dream,
have to.
that dream they had of that beauty,
That
that
desire.
moment. It's just
Yes.
beautiful. I love it,
Mhm.
and I love it that you make it for the all the sizes, not just some sizes. So kudos, kudos to you.
Yeah, I
Right.
do. I do. I do. I do. I had a client. Oh my God. I had a client recently. She came in the store and she said, I was referred to you. But it was her 50th birthday, and her mother was her best friend. And her mother had a massive heart attack about maybe 4 or 5 months before. And so she decided, I said, I'm not going to celebrate because my mother's not there. And her best friend called her son and said, what? Your mother has to, what? She has to do that 50th, must. So her son was like, Mom, you got to do it. So she called around and a couple of people mentioned my name. So she came in. Now, this girl, okay, so let's just, what's the time factor here? She came in a week and a half before the event. And I'm like, hold a minute.
Mm.
I have to pay for this. She didn't care. But that was a big girl. She's like a size 22. This is not no small 16, okay? But I had to be her because she
Mm.
had made a decision. You know what? Okay, fine. I'm gonna do this in spite of my loss. And it's I'm celebrating a milestone.
That's right.
And in a short space of time because she had to put everything together, because of, like I said, she was mourning. And her mother died very suddenly. She had a massive heart attack playing a game with her brother. So, you know what I mean? So anyway, but I had to I had to be that girl. I had to be that girl. And thankfully it came out very well and she was pleased and she's a good customer today.
Wow. That's
Nice.
amazing.
I
That's
love it.
Wonderful.
that's amazing.
That's good. What do
Yes.
you think?
So I would ask Hope if because we are getting to the end of the show, if you had to
No.
give some inspirational words to some up and coming designers or aspiring to be designers out there, what would you tell them?
One of the things that okay, so I remember when I did London Fashion Week and two of the judges, one were for the House of Versace, and he came after the show and he said to me, "You know what? You didn't win." He said, "We had to take a long time to put this thing together, but the reason why you didn't win because your line was not consistent." And I realized, wow, I wish somebody had said that to me before. But actually, I realized that because when I was there, the other designers, I could tell that they had a line that was a flow. But anyway, so I learned from that. But what I would say to an aspiring designer, or even someone who's been in the business for a very long time, and you feel like, well, I'm just, it's just working out for me. I would say, first of all, you have to know your niche. You got to know who your audience is. You have to know what is your style. And it takes a while to get to the style. It really takes a while to know who you are and your signature.
Mm.
I mean, I'm not bragging, but if somebody walks into a gala, you can tell it's a Hopeway Designs.
Mm-hmm.
But it took me a while to get there. You know what I mean? It took me a while to get there. So I would say to someone who's a designer, try to really, apart from the hard work, that's what going to get you there. But try to find out what is it that you're most comfortable doing. What gets you excited when you wake up in the morning, when you know that, oh my God, I'm going to be up all night tonight. What is it that's pushing you? What is that one thing that's pushing you? Because regret is a very, very heavy load that you really can't bear. If you don't do what you're supposed to do, that thing will just, I'm telling you, it will eat you up. And you
Mm.
have to stay motivated. Yes, you do need a village, but you have to motivate yourself. And what I mean by that is you have to know who you are.
Yeah.
Because when everybody's gone to bed at night and you're working by yourself, you know what will push
That's
you
right.
again. So if you can key into that, and I'm not gonna pretend it takes overnight. It may take a while, it may take a year, a couple years, but once you on that stream and you find out what is your niche, that's what will open the doors. That's what because
Mm.
everybody can copy a dress,
That's
but it's
right.
that niche that will
But
open
it's
the
what
door
you
for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
wait.
I love
I
it.
hope you got the hearts flowing crazy in the chat room. They are
I love
loving
it.
what you are saying right
I
now.
love it.
It's
See,
I
thank
love
you,
amazing.
it.
thank you.
Yes.
And
And
it's
that's
so
so
true.
much what we need. And and your inspiration when you talk about Women's History Month,
Yes.
just all the doors you've opened. You've broken down the glass ceiling in so many ways, Hope. And I love what you're aspiring to do in terms of helping others because it is about paying it forward. And I love that you're looking to pay it forward. I know we're about to end, Miss Tracy, but I know
Yeah.
Hope you have a event coming up soon, right?
Yes, I have a show. Well, for JAMCAR, Jamaica Civic and Cultural Association of Rockland.
Yeah.
It's a post Mother's Day event. We'll be at the Nyack Seaport on May 14th, and I'll be showcasing my designs there. and I'll be in Maryland the end of April. So I'll if you can look at my website, you'll see where I'll
I'm
be
not
doing my
far from
different shows.
Maryland. Maybe I'll come and see that one. Mm.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
amazing. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
If y'all could go out there and support Hope Wade, do that. If y'all have any events coming up, she has done. When I tell you we go back, we go back. She has done some phenomenal shows. I've watched them. Her designs are phenomenal. If y'all going to the beach or any kind of white party or beach party, y'all may need to call Hope Wade.
Oh,
Some stuff for you. But
I
thank
could
you so
always
much.
have a custom bathing suit now.
What?
If I had to choose, I could always have one.
It is. Yeah, they looking now. They on your website looking at your line. It's Hope Wade Designs. You can see her
thank
on
you.
Facebook.com, HopeWadeDesigns.com, and they are phenomenal. I still have some of her designs that I use, and it is beautiful. I
Thank
just
you.
thank you for being a blessing tonight. Thank you for
Yes, thank you for
wonderful.
Thank
coming.
you. Thank you for having me. My pleasure. And again, happy Women's International Day.
Yes.
Yay!
Thank you so much. So I know
Thank
that
you.
people are going to go to your website and definitely
Absolutely.
grab some designs off of the website and maybe even reach out for some special custom
All
made
right. That'll
designs for
work
their
too.
special occasions. So make sure that you look Hope Wade up and get your designs made so that you can go out to whatever you need to your wedding, your party,
Yes.
whatever that is, dressed to the nines, as they used to say. I'm dating myself now, but dressed to the nines. So
For
Yes.
ladies,
sure. And
this has
Hope, where's
been
your store's in Nyack, right? Your
Yes,
design
at 23 North Broadway, Nyack.
ah,
23
Nyack, New
North
York.
Broadway, Nyack, New York.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome,
all
awesome.
right.
So if y'all in the tri-state area, you could also drop in to
Come
her
on down.
store. Come on
Yes.
down.
So
All
this has
right.
been another episode of Fem Talk.
Yay.
Everybody, hope don't go anywhere. Just a quick few words that we can give you in the green room. If we can just say our thank yous and have a chat with you before you go. Thank you so much.
You're
We see
welcome.
that. I see that. Fem Talk.
Merch, Pep Talk
Merch at the bottom.
Pep Talk merch.
All right, y'all. We will see
All
you
right.
next
We
week.
are
Thank you.
seeing you
Love
guys next
you.
week.
See you
Thank you
next
for
week.
coming. Oh, they still love.